Hello, everyone. Happy Wednesday to you. Happy day to you. Dr. Wilson Trevino with ABC Vision, broadcasting live from the Innovation Center here at ABC Vision. Today we have an exciting treat. Welcome, Jay. We're going to have someone drop in as a guest, and we're going to have a little old school, a little new school. Director Luke Korem of the movie Lord Montague is going to pop in about 3 o'clock Eastern Time, and he's going to share some ideas. So if you have any questions, share the broadcast with your fellow broadcasters. It's going to be an interesting topic. Lord Montague is a documentary. It's about this man, Lord Montague, who his father had him when he was in his 60s. His father did not have a male heir. Hey, Jay, thanks for inviting your followers. He did not have a male heir, and he had him when he was in his 60s, and this young man grew up to take over the family land, a big piece of property, and the name Montague, and automatically became a lord. And also it documents a little bit about kind of that hierarchy, land lineage that happens in England, which I know a little bit about, but I really don't know a lot about. But it's a really good story. What I thought about the movie, I got to see a little online screener, thanks for the hearts, is it was a good story, and I'm with ABC Vision here, and your ABC stands for A, your attitude, B, your beliefs, C, your commitment, and then of course you need to have a vision. And I Periscope, you're live on Periscope, about review movies, I review theater, I talk about new products, and kind of give you some behind the scenes of some VIP events, and also give you some insight to some of the people that create these different art forms. Some people that are different, off the beaten path. If you have any questions, feel free to throw a question up, and I'll ask our guest today at 3 o'clock. Luke Korem is going to be on here sharing some of his insight. He was the director of this movie called Lord Montague, which is a documentary. And this movie, which I saw as a preview, hey, Happy Soul Diva, always very happy to see you. Share with your followers this broadcast, because we're going to be interviewing a director of a movie, Lord Montague. Lord Montague was an interesting movie. Hey, Happy Soul. I liked your broadcast last night of was it a jazz show? I kind of popped in for a second. That was another thing, but it was nice to see your broadcast. This movie, Lord Montague, it's about this individual who was a lord. His father had him when he was in his 60s, and he died when he was 2 years old. And then he, snarky puppy. What is sharky puppy? What is it? What is that? Sharky puppy? What does that mean? I'm not sure with that. But this movie, Lord Montague, it really is a good documentary, because it really chronicles the life of this individual whose father passed down this huge estate. He was the only male heir, had him when he was in his 60s, and the responsibility, not only socially, but also of maintaining that land and maintaining the property. It really is a good movie. Oh, that's the name of the jazz group. Oh, awesome. Appreciate that. Hey, Rhea, thanks for joining us. Please follow Rhea. She always gives you some positive ideas, positive, hopeful, spiritual beings. She is someone that feeds my heart, and it's always good to hear those messages. Rhea's a good person, and also Rhea is a local Periscoper. She's here in the Atlanta area where I'm from. My name is Dr. Wilson Trevino, broadcasting from Atlanta, Georgia, here at the Innovation Studios, Innovation Center. And today we're going to have an exciting guest. We have Luke Korem, who is the director of the movie Lord Montague, and here he is. So let's see. Hello, can you hear me?
Hi, Wilson. Hi, it's Rachel.
Hey, Rachel. You're live on Periscope. Thank you for joining me.
Woohoo. Okay, let me connect you to Luke right now.
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
So Luke's about to come on board here. We're going to ask him some questions about his movie.
Wilson, you are on with Luke from Lord Montague.
Hey, Luke, what's
Hello.
up? I'm
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm here in Atlanta, Georgia, and we are live on Periscope, so people around the world get to listen to your voice. I also have told people if they have any questions in the 10 minutes we have with you to ask you. So it's going to be an exciting journey. First of all, where are you at, Luke?
Right now I'm in LA.
Okay.
But, I'm from Austin.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful. How are things in LA? How's the weather out there?
It's much cooler than Austin, Texas.
Well, here in Atlanta, we're in the 90s. I think today we're getting up to 96 degrees. So it's a very hot Atlanta day, very humid and very hot.
Yes.
So it's muggy. Tell us about your movie, Lord Montague. What is it about?
Oh, it's about one of England's most infamous and iconic aristocrats, he's known for two things. One, in the 50s, when he was 26, he was arrested for being bisexual, put on trial, and imprisoned, and that ended up being the catalyst to overturn the law on homosexuality in England. And then the second thing that chapter of his life, you could say, is he pioneered the idea of opening England's estates and houses to the public like a Downton Abbey, which those shows come from, where he had inherited this castle as a kid, and it was his to carry on forever, and there was no way to upkeep it, so he opened it as a tourist attraction, and he became quite famous. So early in his life, he was infamous, and later he became famous.
We're broadcasting live here in Periscope, and I want to invite our viewers around the world. Periscope is a new app. Are you familiar with this, Luke? It's a new app that works with Twitter.
No, I actually just checked it out before we got on. It looks really interesting.
What it does, it's a new app that allows you to live stream through Twitter. So it's kind of like the old school chat room where people can see me, they can hear me, and then they can type up little chat questions, and I can interact with them. So it's a live social media type of app. Someone here asked, how did you get involved with this project?
I was asked to go interview Lord Montague, and I went to interview him. It was strictly just an interview, and he started telling me this fascinating story, and I just was wondering, how have I never heard of this guy or his story before? And come to find out, he and his family had remained silent about it for about 60 years, and this was like the very first time that they were starting to speak publicly about it. So I then asked him, well, let's make a documentary about this.
So what was about his story that inspired you to write that? This is a question from Rhea Posley, who is here in Atlanta, Georgia. She just broadcast. What inspired you in this movie? What inspiration did you get from it?
What really inspired me is how Montague handled adversity. He had a goal in his mind and in his life that it was, in his words, to pass on the legacy of his heritage of his family. And when he was, then there's this big scandal, and he's put on trial in prison. And what's interesting is he has a whole new chapter in his life where he doesn't make it his mission to prove people wrong, like, oh, you should have done that to me. He basically just kind of put it aside and said, I have goals in my life I want to achieve. I'm not going to let this set me back. And I found that quite inspiring, how he succeeded in the face of that.
Why did they take such a long time before they opened up to telling the story?
Well, when you watch the film, you'll see that Montague was all over every newspaper, tabloid circulation in the 50s. He was a household name. In an older generation in England, everyone knows who he is. And there's a lot of rumors about him, and there's a lot of uncertainty. And so it was a really hard, it was a tragic experience for him to go through. And so it's not something that he really wanted to talk about. And his family, in fact, didn't even know all the details until they wrote his autobiography. And he said, here, read about my life.
I got to see a screener version of the movie, and one thing that I really loved is the beautiful landscape, the cinematography. You did a great job. How were you able to kind of condense that and choose the sites that you decided to film?
I'm sorry, how was I what?
It was such a beautifully made film, and there were so many nice landscape, beautiful scenic views. How did you decide or narrow down the points of view that you wanted to show on film?
Well, Montague is preserving history, and there's all these castles and estates that basically he's responsible for the fact that they're still there. Even Stonehenge, he's partly responsible for that being preserved. So we're dealing with aristocracy and history and all these amazing settings. So the cinematography put a lot of effort into making this a really gorgeous film, and that's something I'm really proud of. I think that people will, when they watch it, be like, okay, that's not like another documentary I've seen. We're not just running around with cameras. Everything is very cinematic and purposeful.
Where can we see the film? Someone asked here on Periscope. And when is it released?
The film is, the film actually just being released today, and it's available on every DFD platform like iTunes, on cable on demand, and soon afterwards it'll be available on Amazon and all those types of things. So now you can go to iTunes and download it.
Now, what was the biggest challenge in making this movie?
The biggest challenge in making it was the duration. I'm in Texas. My crew is in Texas. Every time we wanted to film something, we had to fly our crew to England, and it's really expensive. So we had to really plan out and pack in a schedule, a shooting schedule, for when we go. So we couldn't just go every time we wanted to interview someone. We had to line up like 15 interviews back to back on a 2-week time frame. So really the 4-year period of constantly working, doing rough test screenings, and that was the hardest part of it.
Now, you interviewed a wide spectrum of people that were intimately close to his family. Was there anyone that kind of told you they didn't want this movie to be made?
Well, I mean, there was a little bit of resistance, absolutely. And they're also wondering, who are you? You're a Texan coming over here to tell me an English story. Like, what are you doing this for? And so I absolutely got a lot of questions, but really it was a great icebreaker, and people were curious why we were curious. And so I think when people watch the interviews, you'll see that they're very genuine. We get a lot of good emotions and stories from people.
Now, is the legacy in good hands? Do you think that this castle is going to continue with his family?
Yes, the castle, Palace House, the home of the Montagues, has been inherited now. It's passed down to his eldest son, Rafe. And so Rafe, when Lord Montague, one day when he passes, he's in his late 80s now, and whenever that would occur, then Rafe would become the next Lord Montague. And he's already running the family business, and actually the whole family lives there. If you go visit Palace House today, the palace, you'll see the family.
Now, did you get to stay in the castle?
Yes, that was quite it. I got to check that off my bucket list. Our crew was able to spend the night in the castle. Lord Montague himself was like, hey, you can let's have tea, let's have lunch. He was very welcoming to us. And so yeah, we not only got to stay there a lot, but we also were able to go into places like Kensington Palace, interview a member of the royal family, and a lot of different places that, looking back, even just talking about it, it sounds surreal.
Now, another question from Periscope. Jero asks, what other projects are you working on?
Great question. So right now I'm in post-production on another documentary, and it's called Delve. And it's about the world's greatest card magician, and he's completely blind.
Wow.
And that film, it's quite amazing, actually.
That's amazing.
That film will be out next year.
Wow. How did you connect with him? That's amazing. Find a blind magician.
I grew up doing magic. I grew up performing, and my dad actually, for 20 years, made his living as a professional, wrote books on the subject, etc. So I grew up with magic, and the guy who's co-writing that film with me, actually, Bradley Jackson is his name. He told me, hey, I heard about this magician, and he's blind. You should look into this. Maybe this is your next film. And I called my dad and was like, have you heard of this guy? His name's Richard Turner. And my dad said, of course, I've been telling you need to make a film about this guy. So my dad likes to take credit for it. But it was my magic background and growing up with it is how I was able to get linked to that.
Another question here on Periscope. How can someone find out about your projects and what you're up to? Do you have a website? Do you have a Twitter?
Absolutely, yeah. You can follow me at Luke Korem, it's Lukekorem. And then also you can look up, like, if you want to look up Lord Montague, it's at Lord Montague, or at Delph Movie for the one about the blind magician. Same thing with Facebook, Lord Montague and Delph Movie.
Another question from Periscope. How do you become a director?
I left college. I graduated college with a degree in economics, moved to Austin, and knew about 2 people. And I decided, I want to do film. And I really have an entrepreneurial spirit in me. Both my parents are entrepreneurs, and I looked at filmmaking as being an entrepreneur. You're an artist, an entrepreneur, which is very difficult.
How much money did you have to raise?
But for the film?
For this film,
it's actually a private investor, so we're not allowed to say. I would just say it's more than a lot of documentaries.
Oh, okay, good, awesome.
It was very difficult to raise this.
Well, that's a very important aspect of making movies is make sure you have someone to pay to make it.
Yeah, that's absolutely the challenge. A lot of people have great ideas, and there's a lot of great scripts out there, a lot of great stories to be told, and and so thankfully growing up, I did a lot of work in commercial advertising, etc. So I knew a lot of people in the entrepreneurial sector, and
Now, someone here put a comment. They say, thank you for capturing this story. And another person asked a question, who inspires you today? Are there any filmmakers, anyone that's a storyteller and in your craft? Who are your inspirations? Who inspired you to become a director?
Well, I'll say this. I never thought I would do documentaries. And so there's that. I really hope the next film to do after Delft, I hope to do more narrative work and just challenge myself in a new avenue. But so there's some directors like Bennett Miller. He did, Moneyball and Foxcatcher. He actually started by making documentaries, and I really look up to his work. And so he's definitely someone that I look at and say, I would like to follow in his footsteps as far as his career path.
So what's your pitch? Why should someone check out this movie?
I think people should watch Lord Montague because they're going to say, who is this guy? I've never heard of him. And by the end of the by the time they watch it, they're going to be very inspired and learn about a whole new world that they never knew anything about. And I think that's what's great about filmmaking, especially documentaries, is when you learn about a world you never knew existed.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for joining us here. One last question here. What advice would you give for aspiring directors?
The advice I would give is that when you first, you need to make sure and surround yourself with a good team, with talented people around you. And then second, when you believe in what you're doing, you really have to be focused on that goal and don't let anything stand in your way. There's going to be people on the way. I had people asking me during the 4 years, why are you still working on that? What are you working on? And you just kind of push that out of mind and say, if you believe in what you're doing, you have a team that believes in what you're doing, then you just keep going forward.
That's awesome. Well, we believe in you, Luke. Good luck. Thank you for your time. We appreciate it. I'll see if I post this also on YouTube so you'll be able to see it. This stays on the app, the Periscope app, for 24 hours. So it's a great medium for people in real time to be in with the coolest people, coolest advice, to get a little insight. Thank you for sharing your insight, and I appreciate all your time.
Fantastic. Thanks for having me.
Bye. There you go. So we had a great interview with Luke Korem. Make sure that you follow him on at Luke Korem, director here for the new movie called Lord Montague. And I got to see a screener copy. It really is an awesome, inspirational movie. My review, I think that it's just a beautifully captured film. It captures what it's like in the old school, those old castle, majestic storylines. It also is a great way in order to learn a little bit about that history of how these titles pass along. I was not aware of the responsibility that these people have, not only of maintaining the presence of being a lord, but also maintaining the facilities. And in these modern times, it's hard to raise if you have a smaller castle, this was a smaller castle, and you have to be innovative and be entrepreneurship and entrepreneurial. And he did a great job, Lord Montague, in order to capture that entrepreneur spirit. Another thing I loved about it was the landscape really makes you want to go and travel and visit. The castle is still on display. His father also collected cars, and was one of the first people to start the horseless carriage phase, because at that time, and the early part of last century, the only people that had cars or these horseless carriages were people that had money. And he saved all these cars. So what Lord Montague, his son, did, and remember, his father had him when he was in his 60s, and he passed on. So it wasn't until much later that he took over the castle. He put these cars on display, and he created a museum of these cars. And not only the cars that were there, but he bought other cars. And what he did, which I thought was really a great aspect in museum life, is he allowed people to interact with the cars. So a lot of people, they say, that was my daddy's car, that was my uncle's car. So it really kind of connected and created home. Also, it's also a great movie in order to a documentary, because it gives you a little bit of trivia. So when you're in a cocktail party, you can say, hey, let me tell you about this character. He overcame a lot of troubles in his life. He was able to reinvent himself, and he was able to kind of capture the imagination in the early part of last century, where people were on the go and they wanted to kind of live the dream and have things. So overall, it's a balanced, good movie. It's beautiful. We just had an interview with Luke Korem, the director of the movie. So check it out. Today is the big push, the big release. It's in all the different mediums. Make sure that you Google it, find out where it's at, Lord Montague, Montagu, Lord Montagu, at Lord Montagu. I'll tweet out my last tweet. I put a little broadcast of a trailer, and it really is a great movie. So I appreciate your time, appreciate you listening. We have now created a new medium in order to share ideas. Normally, as a writer, I would just be on my desk listening and doing a phone interview. I do a lot of these, and now I can share it with you guys. So it kind of gives you a little insight. And we'll keep doing this. We'll hopefully have an in-studio guest next week. Rhea Posley has agreed to be here and talk about some of the amazing work that she's involved in, and also share about some insight. Thank you, Happy Soul Diva. It really is nice to always have your beautiful spirit here in the room and supporting my broadcast. And I appreciate all of your broadcasts. Follow me, or all of your support, and I also appreciate your broadcast here on ABC Vision. It stands for A, your attitude, the way you see the world; B, your beliefs, your core values; C, your commitment, you stay the course; and of course you have a vision of where you want to go. So ABC Vision. I periscope about ideas. I periscope about cool events. I also periscope, kind of give you the inside track, behind the scenes, kind of take a layer behind that. As a speaker and a writer, I get to be in some very unique situations, and now with my Periscope family, I'm able to pull it out and share those moments with you. And I think that's the beauty of having this. Share this with your followers, and I really appreciate you watching. And follow me here on ABC Vision. So happy Hump Day, and keep periscoping.